See, at the end of the day, you have to consider that your body is a very smart machine, right? You have to consider there are certain mechanisms that are happening in a body. If you make them overwork, if you make them work overtime, and if they chronically are over engaged, eventually they will give up, just like a machine. Just like a machine needs rest, our body also needs rest to recharge. So rather than considering sleep as an activity, consider your, whatever you want to call, your willpower, your energy. It is like a battery. You are using it and it is going down till the end of the day.
Hello and welcome to the Filter Coffee Podcast. My guest today, Abhinav Mahajan, is one of the most exciting and unique voices in the world of fitness. That shows in the number of people who engage with his content on social media every day. As an engineer turned model, Abhinav's learnings in fitness have mostly come out of lived experiences, and hence they're more relatable and adoptable. This is in stark contrast in an industry where every other coach seems to take the higher road when it comes to diet or exercise. For example, in one of his most watched videos, Abhinav talks about how a gym is not a necessity for a great body. In another video, he talks about how everyone's fitness journey actually needs to start with their blood work, which will help them understand what they need in terms of nutrition supplements. He also talks often about how it is very important to have a very healthy social life when you're trying to have a healthy body. You get the picture. No wonder then that millions of people follow his content on social media. I had a wonderful time chatting with this Chandigarh boy on life, fitness, and the many myths we take for granted when it comes to our body. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Filter Coffee Podcast. Welcome to the Filter Coffee Podcast, Abhinav. How are you doing and where are you talking to us from?
I'm doing good, Karthik, and right now I'm in Chandigarh. And yes, I'm doing good.
Are you a Chandigarh boy? Are you from there?
No, I am a Punjabi boy, but I am in Chandigarh because right now it is one of the best cities to be in if you are in India.
I 150% agree. And I've not spent a lot of time in Chandigarh. I used to live in Delhi for the longest time. And en route to the hills, always make a stop there.
Right.
And I just love, obviously, like everybody else, how the city is designed. Just the vibe of the place is just beautiful.
Exactly.
It's very difficult for someone who's not been there, to understand what we're talking about. So, but I love the place. I love the place.
Yes.
No, since we're talking about younger years, talk to us a little bit about your childhood and growing up, because I read in one of your interviews that when you were much younger, you were a skinny child, and you sort of started working out to sort of work on that. Talk to us a little bit about everything that you experienced in those years.
Yes, I've actually talked about this a lot, but I think every skinny guy who has been in my place can easily relate to that. I belong to a town or a city which is known as Patiala, the Patiala peg thing.
Yes.
So I belong to that place. And earlier during my childhood, I was someone who was like extremely skinny. So I used to have all these health issues growing up. And then I didn't have enough of confidence. There was a lot of stuff around me that I couldn't understand how people were and how the other kids were. I used to be a very innocent child. I'm innocent, but I know and at least understand the world right now to some extent. So that used to be my condition. I used to believe anyone very easily. So at that point, for like till 14, 15, I was just understanding what's going around me. But about that age, I was like fed up of, being bullied. And I was like, now I have to do something. I have to take a stand.
Right.
And then I started just building myself as a protection mechanism for myself. Like, if I'm in school, if someone tries to bully me, if someone tries to hit me, they should always give it a second thought. I was not too serious about it, but then one day I was just sitting at home and I was just getting ready for one of my institute courses there. And I get a call that, one of my friends got into a fight with some gangsters and stuff, which used to be very common at that time. So, and I used to be, very angry and very frustrated, irritated by how the situations were and how things used to be. So being the person that I am someone who really likes to protect people around me and my friends and my family. So I just didn't give it a thought, and I just went over there. So I saw a few people. They were from local villages, and they had just gotten together and they were trying to beat up my friend. So I got involved. I just tried to stop them, and then I gotten thrashed up badly over there. So I was hospitalized for a good 7 days. I had a few scars. I got hit by a slugger and stuff on my head, and under my eye I got like the punch. You know that the Bollywood, that steel
Yeah.
punch that they use.
Right.
So I got hit, and in 7 days I was just contemplating what the hell happened. And then I was like, I have to grow, bro. I have to really grow so that this shit doesn't happen again. That was a good motivation for me. So then I started working on myself. My focus, it just went more on my own physical growth and my own mental growth rather than my studies and stuff. I used to be valedictorian throughout my childhood, but
Wow.
then my focus went on towards physical fitness, just become a little stronger, become a little bigger, so that at least I can protect myself in any situation. So that was the whole motivation behind how I started. Then eventually I got realized, once that happened, once I started growing, once I started working on myself, I could see people around me started respecting, and they
How
were a
old
bit
were you at
intimidated.
this point in time?
It was around, I started around 16 years, and by 18, I was 18, 19, I was completely into it. I was completely into like lifting and bodybuilding and heavy. I need to get bigger and I need to get stronger. So around 19, 20, I was like really serious about it.
Right. Tell me something. At this point in time, right? I'm assuming you're
Yeah,
probably finishing school, getting into college, etc. There are two things, right? One, of course, is something that you feel you're preparing yourself professionally for,
right,
and then I'm assuming for you at some point, what you're doing with fitness and wellness as well,
right,
eventually becoming a vocation, so to say, right?
right, right.
At this point in time, I'm assuming you were not thinking of fitness as a career, right? Like, what were you thinking of doing professionally?
Not really, not really. I did not think of fitness as a career until my like mid 20s, around
Mm.
when I was 24, 25. So I was obsessed with fitness because I could see how my health was improving, how my overall personality was improving, how I was being given the respect that I always wanted as a child from the outside world. But when I was in college, by second or third year, I realized that I want to be in something which keeps me closest to the fitness, because I want to pursue this kind of a lifestyle throughout my life. And being a mechanical engineer, I didn't have much of options if I wanted to go the traditional way, because I realized that I'm not going to be someone, although my parents used to think that I'm going to be some government officer and stuff, because I had all the character traits, and my studies and my academic history had been extremely good. But I had realized till my mid college time that I want to be in a particular field where I can stay closest to fitness and maintain a lifestyle where I could focus on my fitness and health. And then in came the opportunity of modeling, and I
Mm.
did one of the fests. There are these cultural fests that happen in every college every now and then. There was like Thapad University in Patiala. There was Saturnalia, and I participated there in that with my team, and we got first prize, and I got some praises from a few of the judges and all. So then I saw like this can be one of the careers where I can at least have any idea about how to start, and this can be something that can keep me closest to the fitness. So then after college, immediately I got a portfolio done. I put up some pictures on Facebook, and I started reaching out to a few agencies in Delhi, Mumbai. And then by I think 2013, January 2013, December 2012, I was ready that I'm going to leave. Although I didn't tell my parents what exactly I'm going to do, but I
Mm.
left my home and then I went to Delhi. So throughout that time, I was into modeling. I was learning all the grooming things and all the cultural traits of that particular industry. But still, my heart was somewhere for fitness. Then in 2014, yes, 2014 September, I went to China. I went to Shanghai for my first international trip for the modeling. And I spent 6 months in China. I was there 3 months in Shanghai and 3 months in Beijing. And around that time, I realized that I've had modeling has done its part in my life, and I need to come back to start something in fitness. I was doing few courses and I was doing some certifications around that. I was training few international clients, and then I started realizing, this is something that's enjoy more, and this is what helps me to stay connected with who I really am. And this is the kind of life I want to live. So then I came back, then I researched, then I started my YouTube channel, started my social media thing, just to provide service to other youngsters and help them understand the importance of fitness and health in their lives.
I want to come back to this part again, but as a creator, right? Since we're talking about setting up a channel at
Right.
this phase,
Right.
how was the journey for you? When did you hit scale? When did you know that okay, this is a long term thing? Now you're a creator now.
Yeah, back then there were not a lot of fitness creators. There were very few, and it was tough for good 1 year. I remember I started my channel in April 2016, but I was working and I was creating a team. I was creating certain environment, learning how to. I had never lifted a camera. I had never used any editing software, so it took me like good 2-3 months just to learn all the basics. And then I understood that if I really want to scale this thing up, it cannot do it alone.
Right.
So then I had to convince a bunch of youngsters around me. I had to encourage and motivate them that this is something which has a good connection with their future also. So my cousin was one of them. So we got together, we tried to do it. So we did it for good, I think from April 2016, we tried till October 2016. That was the time till when we tried. But then eventually what happened was that they were in their college and they had to take care of their own life and stuff, and the results were not coming. So then I started uploading the videos myself. And by 2017 April, things started picking up. We hit 1 lakh subscribers in 2017, and 2016 November I had to go to USA for a show that was called Ultimate Beastmaster. So it still is there on Netflix. So I got my shoulder dislocated at that time during that show. So then I came back, and then I was like, it was a very depressive state because my channel was not running. Whatever savings I had collected from my modeling career, they were finished. It was quite a time for me because this was completely something new that I was going through. In modeling, there were like initial 6-7 months where I had similar kind of phase, but this time it was more than like 1.5 years since I was not able to generate any kind of income, generate any kind of significant impact in that particular industry. But again, as they say, if universe takes something from you, it gives back also. So I was not able to be physically very active. I was not able to continue my fitness routine because of that injury. But again, because that energy had to flow in certain directions. So my mind, it started thinking very creative ways and different ways. And I got so much of time to understand how the algorithm works, how these thumbnails work, how the consistency is important. And then I just started rolling by January or February 2017. And then within like 2-3 months, by April, we hit our 1 lakh subscribers. And it was then when April 2017, I realized now I have something going on over here. And all the team members who had gone away thinking that this wouldn't work, they started joining in. And other people were interested to collaborate and stuff. And then I was going to these gyms in Delhi to collaborate. So it was time. And then by August, we had our first brand collaboration. So then I understood, like, this is something which is significant in terms of the revenue generation, and this is something which can be a mid business. But apart from that, I also focused a lot of my energy on online trainings. So that was another thing that was on the side that was going on. So that particular phase from November 2016 to about June or July 2017. That was the phase where I actually started rolling and being very consistent with everything that I was doing. So that was a good time.
Wow. So that must have been exhilarating once you hit it. And I can tell that you probably have not slowed down since then. Like I mentioned it before we started recording, right? I'm one of those subscribers, and I consume your content a lot. And what really strikes me, right? And now I'm speaking to you, I'm able to put those pieces together. Your videos, your content is also in a way a little nerdy, right? In the sense that you talk about the science of it, and you talk about it using terminologies, using the right word, for the vitamin, breaking it down to how it impacts your body, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
Where I'm going with this question, right, is I often, I feel terrible that when we went to school, right, even kids today, when they go to school, they don't really understand the most important thing they need to understand, which is food and nutrition.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
It becomes a subject that you specialize in after you sort of, grow up, but not as children. For you in your journey, right? You started training and then you became full-time fitness person, a creator, etc. How was your journey of learning all of these?
It was fun, a lot of fun.
You didn't have a structured training in this. You picked this up as you
No.
moved on, right? Yeah.
Yes. At the end of the day, I can come as a teacher. I am a teacher from my heart because my parents, both of them, my dad was a retired senior lecturer, and my mother is a principal. She was a biology lecturer before this. So both of my parents are like they're into education system and they belong to that particular dimension. So I'm genetically gifted as a teacher. That is something that I can do very naturally. So if I have to talk, if I have to explain certain concepts that I understand, it is very easy for me to go on hours and hours and hours without even taking a break. So that is something I really love to do. As far as my learning is concerned, it was fun. Why? Because, now if I come on this podcast, I can tell you, okay, protein is important for you if you're not this. You might listen to it and you might or might not apply to it, right? But then there comes a time when you realize that your immunity is compromised and you are on bed rest completely and you have certain infection, and then there are doctors that comes in and say, oh dude, like you are protein deficient, you need to have protein. Then it strikes you, Abhinav said one day that protein is important for all the bodily functions. Now you will understand, now you will start applying that thing. Right. For me, it was not like that because I didn't have enough of people around me to make me realize that, and we didn't have that amount of exposure. I belong to a Punjabi family where you wake up in the morning and aloo ka paranthas with chai, ras, biscuit is a good thing. And you have ice creams, you have chocolates, it's a good thing. Although my parents try to keep me away, but again, if I'm not educated enough for the food, how will I know what is good or what is bad for me?
Right.
But then over a period of time, I realized I could feel that as I am educating myself, there are so many dimensions to food. I'm changing certain foods in my diet and my skin is looking in a different way. If I start eating so-called bad foods, my skin starts looking in a different way. My hair quality is different when I eat certain foods, when I consume certain vitamins. My hair quality is different when I eat certain bad foods. Both my energy levels, whatever you are eating, that is what is going to fuel you to do your work. I realized that things like milk or gluten or let's say too much of fried food, it slows me down. It starts giving me headaches and it doesn't make me feel energetic throughout the day. But then I see if I introduce certain greens in my diet, again, it's all about self-education. I used to get all this information from the internet, but it was not that 100% is accurate. I have to try and test it. So a lot of times there was a lot of failures and failures in bad way. One time I remember I was watching Tony Robbins video and Tony Robbins was high like, you need to start eating alkaline foods. You need to start making green smoothies for yourself. Take spinach, take kale, take celery, take cucumber and just grind it together and just have it. And then I started having it. And suddenly I realized that after 2 months, I'm having typhoid. And why am I having typhoid? Because the spinach and the celery that I'm using, it is infected. And in India, it is not a good hygiene habit to actually start juicing raw vegetables unless you have washed them properly or you have cleaned them properly. So just small things, small
Right.
detailing that I started happening. So most of the learnings that I've had, it have been through you can say, the bad experiences that I've had with foods, with nutrition. Just for example, keto is very famous right now, but I was following keto in 2012 when no one in India knew about keto because I was influenced with a lot of Western diets and Western culture since I was in college. So since 2006, 2007, I was already researching a lot about scientific methods of designing foods. What are these diets that are coming in keto and stuff? And then one day I just went overboard with keto. I started consuming so much of butter, so much of ghee, so much. Then I started having gastric distress. And then I'm on bed. And then I'm realizing, oh man, I think I overdid it. So all those learnings, they came in a form of disguise, right? But that is why I am who I am today. That is why I'm like, don't do this. I know what will happen.
Right.
Don't do this, you know what will happen. Now people often, the friends and the people that I have around my circle, they're like, hey, you used to do it, how can you stop others? I'm like, I did it for you now. Now you should need to stop it. So that is enough for you. I took your pain, now you don't need to go through it. So it was fun in that manner. Yes, most of the learnings that I got it in a hard way. And it was, most of it is self-education. But I have no regrets. I feel I couldn't have the kind of person that I am. I couldn't have learned it in any other way. I want to be beaten up with a bat and understand that it can hurt. So that's how the learning has been.
No, I think when I watch your content, it's also very evident that most of your learning is a lived learning. Now I understand where it is
Yeah,
coming from, right? It's
yeah,
not very academic in nature. You're able to break it down in terms of if you do this, what happens, right? I'm gonna break down the next half hour of this episode into probably a series of myths or areas that people are not clear about, right?
sure.
One of the things for me is also that when I do a 3K run in the morning, that morning until that afternoon, I'm just a different person altogether,
Yes,
right? And sometimes when I come back from the gym, I don't have that level of energy, right?
right,
Many of us think of fitness as how you look,
right.
or even in terms of nutrition, etc. But what about energy? Is the goal at the end of the day for us to be as energetic as we can? Is that one of the variables that we should be looking at?
It is. It is one of the most one of the biggest variables that you need to see when you are considering your overall regime, whether you're considering your health or fitness. Because understand one thing, if you are getting good 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night, if you're getting good recovery, and if you're getting good nutrition, and if you're exercising every single day, there is no reason that you should not be energetic throughout the day. We humans are made like that. We should be energetic until the dawn comes because our circadian rhythms are built in such a way. So at night, why do we start feeling sleepy? Because there's melatonin, a hormone that is being produced in the body. It's very natural. It happens automatically. The cortisol hormone in our body, it starts decreasing. The melatonin goes high. And that is why our body is getting preparing itself to rest, to go at peace. Right? Then we start feeling sleepy. In the morning when we wake up, there's another set of our testosterone is rising, our cortisol hormone, which is preparing us to start taking the action. It peaks around the afternoon and then it starts decreasing again so that our body can go to sleep. So if the circadian rhythm, or what we call as homeostasis, is disturbed, that is when we start feeling those energy crashes throughout the day. But if you can maintain the circadian rhythm with good habits, with good lifestyle, with good nutrition, with good exercise programming, that is a huge indication how things are inside you. Because if all the metabolic processes are working perfectly fine, there is no reason that you should not be feeling energetic until the end of the day. Your
Right.
body should automatically prepare itself to go to rest, and in the morning till the evening, till the sun goes down, you should be energetic. Like that is how our body is made to be.
Yeah. Before I go to the second part, I have an additional question to this zone, right? Which
Sure.
is, in fact, when I asked you about energy, you end up speaking a lot about sleep, right? It is
Yes.
something that we devalue a lot, isn't it? Like either because of
Oh,
work. Yeah.
I'm a big culprit of that. Yes, please go ahead.
No, because when I see people, right? When I see people I work with, friends of mine, they're like, I'm gonna work out hard and then party harder, or
Right,
work hard because I'm in the zone in life where I'm gonna put in the
right,
18 hours of work and then work out harder,
right,
etc. Right?
right.
But that's not a great idea, isn't it? Like how important, for example, is sleep in
Yes.
the overall fitness regime?
Right. See, at the end of the day, you have to consider that your body is a very smart machine, right? You have to consider there are certain mechanisms that are happening in a body. If you make them overwork, if you make them work overtime, and if they chronically are over engaged, eventually they will give up, just like a machine. Just like a machine needs rest, our body also needs rest to recharge. So rather than considering sleep as an activity,
Hmm.
consider your whatever you want to call your willpower, your energy. It is like a battery. You are using it and it is going down till the end of the day.
Hmm.
Now, our mind is so strong, it can keep it active, right? Our
Yeah.
mind is so strong, it can make the body go on and on and on without a lot of things that are required. Like, of course, air is the first thing. Oxygen, without oxygen, you can't survive even for more than a minute. And then comes water, then comes food. And recovery is again an important part, just like that. But we
Hmm.
devalue it because there's something known as sleep debt. And we don't realize it when it keeps, because at the end of the day, I told you, our mind is very strong. And especially when we are at younger ages in our 20s, we already have all the resources that we need to keep us up throughout the night. But
Right.
again, there's a limit to it. Once you reach that sleep debt, where your body cannot take any more, there's some certain complications that will start. I mean, then we realize, oh my God, the sleep. So you can, it's a conscious choice for you. You can work out harder, you can party harder, you can work 18 hours a day, and you keep going, and your body will support you, your mind will support you until it won't.
Right.
And no one knows when that it won't, when
Yeah.
it will come. You cannot tell, but it comes. I have done that. I've actually exploited my body and mental skills and body this potential to certain limits that I know. I've gone 6 months just with half an hours of sleep. I used to shoot morning 9 to 6 in the evening, and then I used to go for my another catalog shoots, which was from for 6:30 p.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And then I used to drive back from this Saket to Gurgaon, and then I used to sleep around 5:30ish or 6ish. Then I used to wake up like at 6:30 or 7, prepare my meals. It took me like good 1 hour to get ready and all. And I was doing it with like good 5 cups of coffee, black coffee, getting a lot of caffeine. That is something that also happens for these people. They either are on Red Bulls,
Yeah.
or they're overstimulating their nervous system with all these energy drinks and all. That is one of the reasons why they feel invincible when
Yeah.
it comes to ignoring sleep, ignoring recovery. But again, as I said, it works until it doesn't. And there is no time period. Everyone is different. It can happen to you in 1 month, in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. The longer you continue it, the longer you will have to maintain the balance also. So if 10 years is the period where you have not respected the body and its mechanisms,
Mm.
it might make you respect it for the next 10 years, right? There's always a balance. For the universe, in universe, everything you do, there's a balance.
Right.
For every good thing, there's a bad thing. For every bad thing, there's a good thing. So that's how balance is maintained. So if we are made to understand these few concepts in our schools, in our childhood, we will make sure that we respect our body at least to a certain amount of an extent.
I just absolutely love your choice of words. The mind being very, very powerful, and this whole
Yes,
feeling invincible thing. And sometimes we mistake it saying for thinking that okay, I'm built like this. Maybe my body doesn't
right,
need as much sleep as your body
right,
needs. Right?
right,
It's crazy, right?
right.
I absolutely love your choice of words. What you said about the mind being very, very powerful and the body being invincible. And we get this false bravado that because I'm invincible, because I feel like this, maybe my body doesn't need as much sleep as yours does, right? Like
Right,
it's
right.
the kind of thing that we delve in. And incidentally, it's very ironic that I'm actually recording this part of the episode drinking my fifth black coffee because I'm terribly out of
I've
sleep.
been there. I've been there.
Yeah. Hey, moving to another zone, right? And I hear you say often, I hear you talk about yoga very often, right? And
Yes,
again, the popular belief here is that what you do in the gym with weights, just compressing different muscles so they become stronger,
right,
is
right.
philosophically opposite to what yoga does, right? Which is at least in the way that I understand it to myself, and I'm nowhere near an expert, is in many ways do the opposite of this, right? And most people believe that they can't coexist. How has your
Hmm.
journey into yoga been, and how do you complement it with what you do with weights?
Honestly, I'm no expert in yoga, but trust me, you do not need to be an expert to actually understand it. If you do it quite often, you will understand the benefits. So there is nothing known as that yoga is opposite to what weight training is. Why? Because yoga also has two forms. One is a yang form,
Hmm.
more of the vinyasa flows, more of the ashtang yoga and stuff they call it. So it's a flows that they do in which your muscles they are contracted as well as lengthened, just like a weight training. So at the end of the day, just understand that your muscles they become stronger, they become bigger when there's a certain amount of resistance that they experience. There's a resistance of contraction. So when you are bench pressing, let's say you're doing a bench press in the gym, there's a resistance that you're pushing away from the body.
Hmm.
And a similar thing when you do in yoga, let's say in a form of push up, or they say chaduranga
Hmm.
asan, chaduranga pose, they do. So when you do those push ups, you're again doing the same thing. You're just using your body as a resistance to
Right.
push the ground away, right? It's a
Right.
similar mechanisms, not the same, but the
Hmm.
similar mechanism that is working. So both the mechanisms can actually have same function, that is help your muscles to grow. But then there comes the yin yoga. Yin is more of the stretching and the flexibility part. That part is which is opposite to what we do in the gym. So in the gym, we focus a lot on the shortening of the muscles. We are doing bicep curls. We are shortening the muscle. The muscle is becoming shorter.
Hmm.
It's becoming shorter as a ball, right? But in yin yoga, you are stretching more. You are
Yeah.
lengthening the muscles, right? Now, why people think that they don't coexist? There is a certain amount of truth into it, and I have experienced that in my body. That a lot of contraction movement, it gives you that harder look in terms of your physique and in terms of your muscles. Whereas if you include a lot of lengthening also, your muscles do not seem to be so hard and so toned, which is actually not a bad thing. Why would you want any tissue or any cell of your body to be tight? Right?
Right.
Strengthening is something else, and your toning or muscular development is something else. Okay, the tighter you are, the more prone you are to the injuries.
Hmm.
Now, if you are a bodybuilder, of course, there will be exceptions. If you're a bodybuilder, if you're a competitive level bodybuilder or physique athlete, probably you wouldn't want to do yoga too much alongside, because it might affect your look. It might make you look a bit flatter than you want to look on the stage.
Hmm.
But if you are an individual like you or me who just want to stay fit, who want to make sure that we are covering all the elements of health and fitness, they actually coexist beautifully. I will never say that they cannot coexist,
Hmm.
especially if you've been someone who has been doing a lot of gym activity, a lot of lifting from so many years, and you're trying to find a new venture or an activity which can compensate for all that hardness that you've built in your muscles, or if you've been struggling through injuries and stuff. Yoga actually works beautifully. Now, there have also been researches that have been done that says when you do these yin yoga, when you hold these certain stretching or flexibility poses for good 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you're stretching fascia. So fascia is the tissue between your skin and your muscle. And you stretch it and you send oxygen through it. And this fascia is connective tissue, and it connects to your joints and ligaments, which are extremely important in maintaining your joint health, preventing injuries and stuff. And the blood flow in natural is very poor in these. So when you're lifting, you are mostly targeting the skeletal muscles, the superficial muscles. But through the stretching part, you're actually reaching those deep tissues, deep muscles, sending oxygen over there, sending blood flow over there. And you're strengthening your joints and ligaments also alongside strengthening your muscles. Right? So through this yoga form, you're strengthening your joints and ligaments, which is one of the biggest reasons you're getting injured in the gym, because if they are weak, your muscles might be able to handle 100 kgs of bench press or 100 kgs of stress.
Hmm.
But if your joints and ligaments are weak, there will be an injury.
Right.
So they coexist beautifully only if you understand the mechanism of both. If you don't, you might end up doing one more than the other, or you might end up doing more or less than what is required. Right? So it depends on person to person. But when it comes to overall health, overall fitness, I would always prefer doing both rather than doing just one.
Right. We'll come back to, a lot of the elements that we're speaking about always end up with knowledge, right? How do I know? How do I know? Your level of knowledge obviously is much, much more than the average person's, right? But I'll come back to knowledge in a bit.
Right.
Because of a couple of things you said, I just want to move on to food a little bit, right? And here again, I found your content very, very different from what I've seen otherwise, right? Whenever you look at fitness, whenever you look at wellness, nutrition, etc., everything seems to be very prescribing a certain kind of diet, saying, we do this, do that, this is what you should stick to, etc. Right? But when I hear you talk about food, you actually talk about it from it's as diverse it is better for you sort of a philosophy, right? Can you elaborate on that? Why do you say that often?
See, diversity is is what nature is all about. Every food has its benefits. Every food has certain minerals. For example, let's say they say that vegetarians or vegans, they are at a disadvantage because the kind of foods that they eat, they are not form of complete proteins, right? And that is true. If you are just a rice eater, right, you might miss out on a lot of other nutrients that the other foods have to follow, have in them if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. So having a basic understanding of diet, you understand that if you mix lentils or pulses with that rice and you add in certain vegetables and you add in certain nuts with that, you make it a complete source of protein. Now, why I'm coming on protein? Because protein is a little easier to understand for the audience, because that is what we usually talk about increasing at the first place when we talk about diet. But there are a lot of micronutrients, there are a lot of vitamins and minerals. For example, when you talk about iron, kale, spinach, these are rich in iron. And then we have omega-3s, we have flax seeds, we have, and especially for our Indian audience who do not have most of the understanding. So rather than trying to educate them on every single ingredient, when you say that consume variety of foods and have diversity in the kind of diet you're having, it becomes natural that because they're including that amount of diversity, they will be healthier and they will have all the nutrients that they need to function properly.
So just to paraphrase, the takeaway that that I'm hearing from you is that the more the more varieties of food that you keep consuming, right? Different kinds of vegetables, different kinds of proteins, etc. Then you sort of complement your nutritional needs, right? I mean that's the way one should be. That's the message one should take out of this part of the conversation, right?
Yes, to some extent, yes. But again, there are a lot of other variables if you want to go a little more advanced into this. Firstly, just look out for some seasonal vegetables, seasonal fruits that are available. Try to not eat things which are not seasonal. And then see how your ancestors who have been coming, how they have been eating. For example, if I'm in North India,
Yeah.
used to eating a lot of lentils, wheat, and grains, and some amount of non-veg and stuff like that. And if you're belonging to South, it's more of the rice and more of the idlis, dosas that your ancestors are having. So those are a little more advanced ways to just see how you can fit in a lot of diversity in your. You don't want to try to include certain food which are not sustainable for you,
Right.
which are not accessible in your areas and stuff like that. So these are few of the details that you just need to understand before you start applying this thing, because people actually get obsessed about something. Like if you're not getting avocados, don't get obsessed that somewhere you heard that avocados can help you get better health and you want to have those avocados, but it's not available and you're freaking out on that. Blueberries is one other thing that we have. So yeah, there's certain commonsensical details. If you lie, then it's not that difficult to find all the diversity around you.
Yeah, you're right. We actually, this is probably one area where we overthink more than required, isn't it, when it comes to food? But incidentally, one other thing that I've also seen, and I think in one of the pieces of content you had spoken about this, and you actually stressed the importance of doing a blood work first and understanding what you're lacking in nutrition before you start putting together your diet plan, isn't it? My question there is, one of the an area that everyone struggles with, right, is in the area of multivitamins. I know this is a very long subject, so I'm not going to go into super depth on this, but just to take your top of the line thoughts on this is, okay, let's assume I do my blood work. I understand, say, for example, I suffer from a vitamin D issue, hypothetically speaking. But the choice of which multivitamin to pick is another place where people get lost, isn't it? What would you tell them? What would be your advice to them?
See, that is a tough question, because when it comes to the current situation of supplement industry in India, things are a little difficult to understand when you are going out to buy certain supplements, especially a supplement like multivitamin. So there are a lot of variations that come in. So for that, the best would be to watch my videos firstly and understand what kind of amounts of certain nutrients that you need. But if you are someone who is going to buy a multivitamin because they have got their blood test done and there are certain deficiencies that you find in those blood tests, the best would be to go for individual vitamins. For example, if you go for a blood test and you are deficient in, let's say, iron, or one of the most common deficiencies that we have is a vitamin D, right? So that is why I say, like, each and every individual, it's the duty of them to have basic understanding of what nutrition is.
Right.
Not just for themselves, but for the generation that is going to come. Right. So that is why a certain amount of self-education is important for each and every individual, so that they can become the healthiest version of themselves, and then they can pass on the knowledge to their offsprings or whatever the family members. So if one person in the family has taken that initiative to become the healthiest version of themselves, it will impact the whole family and it will impact the whole society and the nation in its core. But coming back to the question, having basic understanding that if you are deficient in iron, right, you get a certain prescription, this is the amount of iron that you need, then it becomes a little easier for you, because when you go to, let's say, if you go to an Amazon or if you go to a pharmacist, you know what kind of a certain dosing you need, right? But then you can have that. But then if you have a bit more knowledge, and then you will understand that there are certain forms of these vitamins which are more easily absorbable. They are bioavailable to your body. But again, I won't go to that extent, because most of the audience will switch off just at that point. They don't want to go into so many minute details of everything. So the best would be to get a prescription from the doctor to be on the safe side. But just do a bit of research. Everything is available. Everything is available. Let's say, for example, if I am deficient in iron, you go on Google, you just write which is the best form of iron available over there. So it will say ferrous bisglycinate. And this is the easiest form of iron that can be absorbed. Then you search for vitamins in your whatever search figure you have, let's say on Amazon and all,
Right.
and you search for ferrous bisglycinate, you will be easily able to get that. Same thing with, let's say, vitamin D,
Right.
and you say which is
Right.
the easiest form to know. So it will say cholecalciferol, and then you know what amount you need, because if you're deficient in vitamin D, you saw one of my videos and you know that I said you have to consume 60,000 IU once a month, and you can get it easily from the chemist. Then you're not confused.
Right.
Another thing can be, let's say you are deficient in magnesium. So again, you can go to the Google, you can type best form of magnesium that you need to have. It will come magnesium biglycinate or magnesium citrate. Then you try to find those particular names on Amazon or around you, and you get that particular thing and get that particular brand.
Right.
So although it is a tedious process, but currently we do not have an education system which actually clears every doubt when it comes to the micronutrients. Like, understand, our education system somehow, it doesn't even tell us what carbs are, what proteins are, what fats are, to the level where we can make a better understanding that during schools we have to make sure that we're eating enough of protein
Yeah.
to just maintain our health. So when it comes to choosing micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, it is even more complex and even more minutely detailed subject that needs to be covered, right? So there's a huge gap, but with a bit of research, a bit of effort, you can get the basics right.
No, and I think your content has been hugely helpful, right, to me and many other people, like me, who follow you, because you're right. I think if our educational system spent 10% of the time that we do on differential calculus on nutrition and food, I think we'd be
Right.
a much healthier society overall, right?
Exactly.
Just absolutely ridiculous and cruel that we don't impart this knowledge. But I think for me, one of the biggest sources of information has been your content, where you break it down in different settings, right? So
Right.
that if someone can sort of consuming your content for a long period of time, this almost becomes an algorithm that he or she can develop, right? Which is what I love,
Yes.
right, about it. The other part of it, right, and this is something that I have struggled with personally as well, is we all go through this spurts, where we really want to work on the body, and it usually happens towards the fag end
Right.
of not being conscious of certain things, and then you want to
Yes.
overcompensate by saying,
Yes.
okay, the next 6 weeks I'm
Yes.
going to do this, right? And there's nothing wrong
Yes.
with that, I'm assuming, right? And I think these spurts
Yes.
they all count. But typically, for me, I went through this phase where I thought what was really lacking, right, and was a mentor in this journey, was a coach in this journey,
Right.
and we all automatically gravitate towards personal trainers in our gyms, right? Which is almost for me never really worked out. It never really worked out because I realized why it has not worked out. Also, is that because I have not been able to define goals in a very clear way to the trainer, so things get muddled up, right?
Right.
Then lately I've been
Yes.
thinking that defining your fitness goals is not easy, right? Like for
It's not.
example, like for example, the simplest form of it would be that, okay, I need a much smaller waistline, right? But that's a stupid way of defining the goal, isn't it?
Right.
And so what are your tips, or rather, what are some of the goals according to you that we should actually chase, right? Which is easy to articulate, easy to
See,
understand as a journey.
yeah. I have a very simple answer for that. So goals without deadlines, they are just wishes, and wishes might or might not come true, right? So whenever you're setting a goal, you need to have a deadline. Only then you will get your ass off and go to the gym and get that diet in place, make the discipline in. But that is one of the toughest things to do, because there is no one on your head to make that happen. There's no accountability, and that's where personal trainers, coaches, they come into play, because you have accountable, you pay them. But for certain people, it doesn't work in that manner also. So anything you have to do in life, whether it's your career or it's your fitness goals, firstly, you must have a deadline. And secondly, there needs to be a strong why. For me, as I said, for me to grow bigger, to get stronger, there was a strong why, because I was fed up of being skinny. I was fed up of being not looked at with respect. I was fed up of being intimidated by others around me, by my friends and family. And I took a stand, and then I'm like, it's enough is enough, right? And most of us actually take an action when things reach to that level where we can't take it anymore. Right. Most of our life decisions come in that manner. Okay. So there's no hard and fast formula for this. The only thing is, remember that if you are becoming fit, if you are that one person who becomes fit in your circle, probably 10% of your circle will also be inspired to become fit.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Let's say if you want to lose weight and you are surrounded by 10 other people who are overweight, right? If you're that one person who becomes fit, at least one or two people in that particular group will take that initiative to make themselves fit too. The other ones will be like, we are fine with how we are looking. And, it's good that you have done this. But just that inspiration, because that is what has been keeping me going till
Right.
now.
Right.
I've never been able to get out of fitness, because when I became one of the fittest individuals in my community, in my circle, I saw the huge shift that happened. Like the city I belong to, the whole city, I saw how they got exposed to fitness. I started social media. I saw the whole city, how many people who were clueless about how to make careers in fitness, they got a path, they got a road to actually start making a career out of fitness. I saw that. And that is what keeps me going. Like that is something intrinsic to me. When I see others getting inspired from me and taking certain steps, I'm like, now I have a certain responsibility on my head, and there's a certain standard that I've maintained, and I cannot go below that.
Right.
I can only go above that. And when we talk about the goals, goals, they are easy to imagine, they're easy to visualize. But the toughest thing is to take that action. For the action to happen, there's discipline. It's like you have to just take that decision that no matter what happens, I'm going to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to have my routine. I'm going to go to the gym, and only then I'm going to go and do my other activities. Right? Same thing as, I got inspired by Arnold a lot. He used to say that my father, he was in army, and he used to make sure that we didn't get food unless we did 100 push-ups in the morning. Right. But unfortunately, our fathers are not like that. Our fathers are like, you've earned 1 lakh rupees only then per month, and only then I give you the respect that you're looking for. Right. So we come from those kind of backgrounds, and that is how Indian children are brought up.
Yeah.
So you have to be on your head. You have to be your dad in that scenario.
One question there before I move on to the last segment,
Sure.
which is, see, I'm revisiting my question, right? Like, say, I would love to get up at 5 in the morning, as long as I know this is the goalpost that is inspiring me, right? Now, that goalpost for many of us is not Arnold, is not to have body like that, right? If I were to ask you, for a regular person who is not in the business of bodybuilding, right? If you have to help them articulate, you said being fit, right? If you have to help them articulate that into a goal, which I'm assuming will have many different aspects to it, how would you sort of, what are the things you feel should be part of your goal definition?
There's just one thing I always ask everyone who comes to me. I'm not able to set my goals, how I can be inspired, how I can be disciplined and stuff.
Right.
I just ask them one question. How do you look at yourself, or how do you find yourself talking yourself when you are naked in front of the mirror? Do you like yourself? Do you really like yourself? If the answer is yes, then you don't need to do anything. You just stay the way you are. It is fine. But if not, then you're lying to yourself as soon as you put a shirt on and a denims on. You're the same person. You are going out in the world with the same mentality. And if you don't like yourself when you're naked, you're lying to yourself the whole day. And that is how you will be behaving outside. So fitness is not a luxury. Fitness is not a privilege. It is your responsibility. Health is your responsibility. That is the core basic. It is going to define what kind of genes and DNA you are going to provide to your offsprings. And we as humans, we are on this planet for one and one thing only, for reproduction. That is the first thing. Everything else is just around that. Our basic is to reproduce. That is who we are. We are the species, we are the organisms who are here to reproduce. And if we are putting those unhealthy genes and unhealthy lifestyle, all those unhealthy habits, if we are giving to children, we are doing the same mistake as our parents did.
Right.
We are again bringing up a generation which might not be fit, which might not be healthy, which might have to go through a lot of work, a lot of hard and difficult work to make themselves realize the same thing. So for me, honestly, this works. This thought works, that whatever will come out of me, let's say if my children come out, it might sound I'm going too far with this, but the day I realized this thing, I could never go back. I could never go back. Right? I had to be careful. You said that you're drinking 5 cups of coffee, and I understand that this is your phase that is going on, and I have been in this phase too. But the moment I realized this, I started working on building a lifestyle where I don't need to do that.
Right.
Right. So it is working towards a lifestyle where you can put more focus on your well-being, on your health, because if your existence is not, if your experience, at the end of the day, health and fitness is all about your experience to the life.
Hmm.
If your experience is not good, if you do not like yourself, looking yourself in the mirror, and you know that these are certain things, that these are certain goals that you have to complete, how can you expect the others to treat you the way that you want them?
Right.
So these are few basic things. Again, these are the things that should have been taught in the school.
Yeah.
But then over a period of time, you realize, this is okay. This has been something that we have not been able to take on throughout a childhood, or this is something that we have missed. There's certain puzzles that we always feel that we have missed, and we need to learn our own way.
A related question is, one of your most watched videos on your channel is your no gym full body workout. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a long question with probably a short answer. For us to get to the fitness goals that we want to, and I'm asking on behalf of everyone who listens to the show, is going to a gym essential?
Not at all. If you're motivated enough to work out at home. That's a condition along with that. See, at the end of the day, you have to realize, especially after Corona, a lot of people started working from home. Okay. So usually for someone like me, I spend a lot of time at home working on my videos, on my shoots and stuff like that. So for me, it becomes important to get out of the house, to just being able to adjust to the outside world.
Right.
Also, for someone who has been spending a lot of time within their office throughout the day, it is better that you go in the gym. Why? Because the environment is like that. You see other people getting fitter in front of your eyes. So there's a motivation factor that is around there. And there's a certain vibe of the gym that you cannot create at home. But if you're someone who understands ki, I don't have time to go to the gym. It takes me half an hour to get ready, half an hour to drive to the gym. Then I have to spend 1 hour. Then I have to take a shower. So it takes 3 to 4 hours out of my day. And I don't have that amount of time. I just want to be done within like half an hour, 45 minutes. Then yes, home is the best thing for you when you don't have time. But if you can make out some time, and if you want to get out of the usual routine, and if you want to find some added motivation, join a gym. Simplest thing to do.
My last question is, a lot of people start off on this fitness journey, right? And sometimes, they obviously falter because, our lifestyle, especially our professional lifestyles, is not conducive to be able to do this consistently until you hit a rhythm, right? And more often than not, time is your enemy, isn't it?
It is.
And we end up being very hard on ourselves, right? When we miss it, we feel like, you have to start from the beginning. What would you tell people who are sort of struggling to begin, right? How do you want them to sort of rethink this whole thing?
Stop thinking. There is not going to be a perfect day in your life when you will be like, oh yes, now I'm ready to take this decision to get fitter. It is never going to happen. And you don't need to go all extravagant with each and every single step. Start small. It is all right. Start step by step. First month, start walking every single morning for 10 minutes. Just make that change. Not a big thing to do. It's all about the discipline. It's how about you train your mind. Once you start doing those 30 days, 10 minutes walk, for your mind, it just becomes a habit. It becomes a ritual. It becomes very natural to wake up in the morning and get those 10 minutes in. Now you're comfortable with that. Now you want more challenge. That is how our human mind works. You finish a particular stage and then you want more challenge in that. And then you start with yoga 10 minutes. Okay, so 20 minutes are there. Then you stick with it for 1 month. And then you start with 10 minutes of, let's say, bodyweight training. And then let's say after a month, you join a gym and you spend 45 minutes over there. And then it becomes so easy for you.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's your mind that is paralyzing you to take that particular step, take that particular decision. Your body needs it, but your mind is the one who is, you can come up with a lot of excuses. You can say, I'm feeling lazy. I cannot get up in the morning. I'm not feeling motivated. But if you listen to yourself carefully, you're just making excuses in your mind for yourself. It's you.
Yeah.
It's your mind. It's mind who does not want to become uncomfortable, because let's be honest, why would your mind want to be uncomfortable? It is accustomed to the current comfort level you've given it. But you know the truth. Every single time in your life you have given into that comfort level, your growth has stopped, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically. And whenever a growth has stopped, it is as good as being a dead person. When does a growth when does growth of anyone stops? When you are dead, right? You're gone. That is when the growth stops. So if in any segment of your life, whether it's your fitness, whether it's emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, physical health, if your growth has stopped, that particular dimension of your life is becoming stale. It is becoming dead, right? Just realizing this, that and you are not moving towards a destination which is going to help you to become a complete individual, and which is going to give you a holistic experience of your life, which is going to give you a fulfilling and joyful experience of life, even if you miss one dimension, right? Not just fitness, even if you talk about your emotional health, if you're emotionally not a strong person, if you've not evolved emotionally since your childhood, because of you not being able to take stronger emotional decisions or emotional restraints, you will feel that missing in your life, right? So if you want to have the best feeling of this life, we have just one life, and as you said, time is the enemy. But again, everything exists the same way and the opposite way at the same time. There's like a dichotomy of life, as they say, right? So if time is your enemy, then my friend, time is also your friend right now, right? If you're scared of time, scared of losing time also, and there's no better time to get fit than right now.
Yeah.
If you really want to be fit, if you really understand this fact just once, you need to just understand it once and just realize it once, you will not be finding any excuse for anything in your life after that. You will be taking everything as a challenge. You will be embracing every challenge in your life. Like, whenever I'm feeling something that is scaring me, or whenever I'm experiencing a certain dimension which is making me uncomfortable, this is what I need to do, because this is where my growth is not happening. Because if it was, I would not find it difficult, I would not find it challenging.
Right. No, beautifully put. I loved what you said about the statement and its opposite are both true at the same time. It really, really makes you think. In fact, what you were saying earlier, when we think of this other book that I recently finished, which is Atomic Habits, which basically talks about how it's incremental change that you're doing every day. Like, do 1% better today than you did yesterday, right? And that over a period of time will give you better benefits than big spurts and big changes, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. We usually end the episode by asking our guest what he or she is reading, watching, or listening to. While we would love to hear that from you as well, but I thought I'll take this segment, to also ask you, because a lot of the thing, and this is the part I had told you, I'll revisit towards the end, right? A lot of the things that you said fundamentally go back. We are basically asking the listener, to someone who wants to take this path, to go to the research table first, right? Understand your blood work, understand what nutrition is and all of that.
Right.
What are some of the sources of information? Of course, for me, the biggest source today, one of the biggest sources is your channel. But what are some of the other places that one can seek and get this information from? Are there any sources on the internet? Any books that you recommend?
So, if this question was asked to me, let's say 5 years back, it would have been easier for me to answer this question. But trust me, the kind of times that we live in now, and the kind of advancements we've had in terms of our education on nutrition, supplementation, exercise, we exist in a time where the ratio of good information has come down and the ratio of bad information has gone up. So when we talk about information, just understand that not every information is equal, right? And when we talk about science, when we talk about nutrition, supplementation, the advancements or the understanding of these elements, they also keep on improving with time. So if I was to give you sources which I had 5 years back, right, they must be outdated by now. There's so much of new information that is out there, which is more advanced, which is novel, and which has advantage over the old information. So the old information is irrelevant now. But the problem right now is to find that novel information, you need to take out so much of time and so much of effort just to get those researches, those research papers and everything. So I have my sources in terms of my coaches or my social circle in terms of fitness that I used to have, where I procure those resources. But if I have to just generally guide the audience, what is the best source? Currently, I will not be able to tell anything else than watching my YouTube channel and watching my information. It might sound that I'm promoting myself, but I just don't feel too safe to actually recommend anything right now on the internet, because there's so much of stuff out there. Uh, there are so much of imposters in terms of the knowledge also in every field right now. And it is almost next to impossible to say that there is a single source that exists,
Right.
which can give you all the information.
Right. Right. No, this is extremely candid of you. I think because you're acting as that filter, and like we mentioned at
Right.
the beginning, a lot of your knowledge is lived knowledge, right? You made mistakes and you sort
Yes.
of learned from there. So most definitely curated knowledge is certainly better than what you can Google and find out. Um,
Right.
yeah, very candid. Abhinav, thank you so much. I feel like I can speak to you for another 2 hours and still not be done, because there is so much information, and I love the way you articulate them. But this has been a huge learning. Good luck to everything that you're doing on your channel. It's one of the most exciting sources of information for me, and hope to speak to you soon again on the show.
Thank you so much, Karthik. And just want to compliment you on one thing that this has been one of the smartest podcasts that I've actually ever done. I've been asked a lot of questions in the past, but these are by far the smartest questions that I've actually come through, which actually took a lot of my mental resources to bring out the best of knowledge that I could through all the conversation that we had today. So hats off to you and hats off to the whole team to get that done.
No,
But
very
it was a
kind of you.
pleasure and I enjoyed it, and definitely even I would have wanted to go on for the next 2 hours, 3 hours. But I understand probably next time soon we'll all connect together again.
Yes, we should, and we've all been better off listening to you and your
Yes.
wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you
have a
so
good
much.
night.
Thank you, Karthik. Have a good night. Take care, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcasts.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I am _Karthik. That's Karthik with an H on Twitter, and Filter_Coffee. That's coffee with a K on Instagram.